Welcome, everyone, and happy Thursday. This is your favorite show on the internet, Talent Experience Live, the show that covers everything that you need to know in talent acquisition, talent management, human resources, recruiting, and the entire industry as a whole. I am your host, Devin Foster, and Talent Experience Live is proudly brought to you by the good folks here at Phenom, whose purpose is to help 1 billion people find the right work. Not only do we do that through great programs like this and Smarter with Jess Elmquist, but we also do it through our Intelligent Talent Experience platform, which helps candidates find the right fit faster, recruiters become wildly productive and more efficient, as well as employees evolve in their current roles and beyond. That's what we're talking about a little bit today, as well as managers get better data and insight through automation and, quite frankly, technology as a whole. So if any of this interests you at all, do not walk over to phenom.com. Today, the conversation circles around skills. Actually, we have an upcoming event on December the 13th. It's Skills Day, and we want to give you a little bit of a crash course, a little bit of a sneak preview into that today. So I have 2 very special guests who are joining me. I am being joined by the Johns, John Harrington and John Deal. And without any further hesitation, let's bring them onto the program. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Doing great.
Yeah, man. Great. Thanks for the intro.
Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Always love having you both on, recurring guests at this point. Let's get right into it. I want to know, what is Skills Day right off the bat?
Sure. Yeah, so there's a lot of talk right now about skills. You mentioned that in your introduction. There's nowhere you go on LinkedIn or as you're perusing through articles related to retention and growth of talent acquisition. Skills is coming up everywhere. The challenge is there's no lack of understanding that skills are important. There's no lack of recognition that they can drive a lot of impact when they're used correctly. But one of the biggest things that we've recognized, and one of the inspiration behind doing this Skills Day, was that there's not a lot of guidance out there that's helping people embrace them appropriately and take appropriate action with them in context of where they are as an organization and what steps would make sense with that context considered. So we're really going to break it down into a few different sections, which we'll get into later in today's episode, to help organizations think about that and reflect where are they on their journey, what context should they be taking into account, how should they look at where skills are being applied today, how can they actually start setting their sights on the future and know what steps need to be taken to get there. So that's really the inspiration behind it, is more actionable guidance versus just more buzz.
No, that makes sense. And I think I want to ask the next question. You talked about it a little bit there, more actionable insights. But why do you think this is so relevant? And why is it so important for us to take a stance and provide this education right now, as opposed to maybe in 2024 or when the industry as a whole gets a bit more of an understanding? So the question is, why are we doing Skills Day, I guess?
Yeah, I think the main reason is, as John kind of mentioned, there's so much chatter. There's so much jargon, right? I think we did an episode before about jargon. And it's not letting that to continue to perpetuate. It's trying to help bring clarity sooner than later, right? So because the technology is just going to grow, the conversation is just going to grow. And so we hear a lot of questions and we see a lot of exacerbated faces, a lot of overwhelmed faces out there. So we thought, all right, why don't we get out there and try to give some guidance?
That makes complete sense. I like the thought of you mentioning that technology is going to continue to grow. I grew up playing video games with my dad. He used to school me in Madden all the time. I still have a PlayStation now. If he picks up the controller, I'm beating him 49-0 at this point, right? So when we talk about the evolution of skills, you have to be involved in the technology, understand it as it changes from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 5. The controller is going to change, everything like that. And I think the technology that we leverage as well in human resources is changing. So that's a fantastic point. We here at Phenom love days. There's 365 days in a year, and it feels like we have a specific day around all of it. The most recent one that we hosted was AI Day. I want to ask you both, what is the key difference between AI Day and Skills Day? Because I think, as you alluded to, there's a tremendous amount of AI when skills ontologies and rolling out this sort of technology. it's underlined by artificial intelligence, correct? So are there key differences between the 2 days?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So when you think about AI Day, and there will be another one, don't forget we do AI Day every year, and we'll do it again. 2024 is right around the corner, so just a little plug there. Look out for the registration information. We think about AI Day in the context of organizations needing to embrace AI because it's not going away, and really getting into the foundations and some of the in-depth specifics about how our AI works and what inspired us to take it the direction that we did, and how customers are getting value from it and how they're applying it. So we get very deep in those conversations, and it's a 4-hour affair, right? There's even extra content that we don't have a chance to broadcast live because we go even deeper. This will not be that. This is actually an opportunity to get to the practical applications of skills and really bring those to the forefront in the conversation. So really making sure that people who sit in get something actionable they can take out of it and not have to sit through content that gets pretty deep. Really, we're not gonna go that deep with it. We're going to make sure that everyone can take something away from it that's meaningful, actionable, and that they can share with their peers and really start to think about what are we doing coming out of this skills day. And what better time than the end of the year when reflections and plans are being put into place to start formulating actionable things that you can put into practice next year. You don't have to wait. And I think that's one of the beauties of what we're trying to do here is help people think about where they are and then walk out of it with something that they can actually make a dent with not too long from now.
Yeah, that makes sense. And just to clarify, you mentioned everyone can walk away with this. So this isn't exclusive to Phenom customers. If someone isn't leveraging Phenom right now, first of all, shame on you. I'm kidding. But if they are using, let's say, another technology, there are some practical takeaways that they can leverage as well, and maybe influence them as to why they should use Phenom in the future. But for, as you talked about, reflection of 2023 moving forward into 2024, how they can start to change their mindset and leverage skills, even if they're not a Phenom customer. Am I right there?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the buzz that we mentioned around skills, it centers on talent management. This is much bigger than that. And what we're going to do is make sure there's something for everybody from a role perspective. So talent acquisition professionals will benefit from listening in on the content. We're going to talk about the applications of skills and how you're even using skills today in the context of talent acquisition. We're going to talk about how hiring managers interact with candidates and where skills come into play. Recruiters and hiring managers, when they're making decisions about how they're progressing forward with candidates and narrowing down applicants and really furthering the interview process, where do skills come into play there? We're also going to get into HRIS. We're going to talk about how your skills and how your technology and how it all works together is today and where it could be in the future. So it's not going to just focus on talent management. It's going to go much deeper than that. And that way everyone gets some value out of sitting in and listening.
That makes sense. Now, you kind of talked about it a little bit there, what to expect. But John, I want to ask this question to you because we had a conversation around skills a couple weeks ago, and you mentioned there's 40,000 in Phenom's
skills. 10 times, 400,000.
400,000. It's still too big a number for me to wrap my head around. But
just add a zero.
Yeah.
Every episode, we're gonna add a zero.
Every episode add a zero. But no, I want to ask what to expect. Obviously, we're not going to just do a display of people showcasing their different skills. I don't think John Harrington's going to be juggling. I'm not going to be demonstrating any karate or anything like that. But what can we expect throughout the content of Skills Day itself?
Sure. So as John mentioned, this is really around practicality. And Phenom has a certain point of view of how we are approaching skills intelligence, of how we are approaching workforce intelligence. And so you're going to get a little bit of a flavor from our CEO on what our point of view is. And then we're going to start to dive into what are some of the areas that skills are being used in the organization today. Nobody's really starting from scratch, right? It's not a blank slate. There are skills, maybe not karate skills or juggling skills, but certainly other skills that are being used in different parts of the company. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're certainly going to show you how the technology works, how different technologies work so that you can understand when you're making a technology decision, right? It's not just for Phenom customers. This is for everybody to understand everything that's out there and why you should move in a certain direction. And then we're going to work through some use cases, right? We're going to do some role playing a little bit and show people how different people in the organization, like managers, like candidates, like employees, and like recruiters, can walk through and use skills meaningfully in their everyday job. And then, of course, how do you get started, right? A lot of companies are stalled right now trying to figure out what the best next step is. We don't want you to leave here feeling like you don't have an immediate action item that you can take. So at the end of the day, that's what we're going to get you.
No, that's fantastic. You always need to know where to get started, right? New Year's resolutions are right around the corner. People are going to have resolutions to run. They're going to have resolutions to lose weight, to eat healthier, whatever it may be. It all starts with day one, right? And you're saying that with skills, we're going to provide you how to do that to give you the recipe for success. So that's exciting. Harrington, you kind of talked about this a little bit on who should attend. I know you mentioned it's not just a talent management thing anymore. Let's call those folks out. Who, if they have a specific title, who should be there? And we'll kind of put them on notice, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, I think we talked about how talent management tends to be closely associated with skills because you're thinking about growth and retention of employees, upskilling, evolving, learning and development opportunities. All of these things are logically aligned with skills because it's something you can use as a basis for understanding what makes sense in the context of that individual and how do you really make sure that you're evaluating what they're capable of, where your biggest opportunities may exist, how you can actually get them from point A to point B. That doesn't have to live within just talent management. You might, for example, identify you have skills gaps. Now, you could try to fill those gaps internally with the talent you have and using the skills data that you have at your disposal about your existing org. But you might also identify that you need to go somewhere else to get that externally, right? That's where talent acquisition comes into play. And so when you're thinking of things holistically and you have the ability to execute where you're using data and guiding decisions about which resources you pull in for what reasons, now your conversations are happening with sourcers, they're happening with your recruiting teams, they're happening with the hiring managers to really make sure that your talent acquisition strategy and execution is aligned with your business needs, right? So that's one example of where talent acquisition professionals would benefit from knowing what skills data they have at their disposal and how that's guiding and informing the approach that they're taking about the people they're bringing in the door and the kind of impact that they're expected to make, right? Same with, I mentioned HRIS, HRIT. Knowing that you have your organization set up for success with the right interconnectivity of the solutions that you're using in your everyday talent acquisition, growth, and retention practices. If it's working in harmony and you've got centralization and the data can flow and it can be accessible to many talent stakeholders that are making these decisions, that team is going to drive better impact faster, right? But if you don't know how to do that, it could be a challenge because many organizations have dozens of point solutions that were never meant to work together. And so when you're not thinking about the context of how you can get to a better tomorrow where you have that type of harmonization, it can feel very confounding. You know you want to do something, but you feel powerless to do it. So we're going to get into some of that change management in this whole skills day and get to some specifics about the action that can be taken to get to that better tomorrow. So that's an area where HRIS and even C-level or VP level executives within the HR context or outside can think about what is the impact skills can have on our organization, and what can we do today to put our best foot forward for tomorrow, to be more flexible, to be more agile, to have more confidence when we're making decisions. I think a really important reminder for everyone is that skills are just the beginning, right? This isn't the be all end all. It's a very important thing, but it's not the only thing. So getting a good handle on it and knowing how to do it the right way is very important, but also thinking about what other factors come into play when you're evaluating talent, whether it's your existing talent or talent you're trying to acquire. Skills are a big piece of that, but think about experience, think about behaviors, competencies, proficiencies, different types of attributes that people possess that go beyond just their skills, right? So this is something that we feel very passionate about, setting yourself up for success. If you're not doing this right, the other pieces are just going to be that much more challenging.
That makes complete sense. The one thing that I wanted to mention was you talked about the flow of data through multiple different systems. And immediately I think of the dream team analogy, right, in sports, where you bring in the all-stars from all over the place and they never connect, right? It never happens. You need that sort of synergy throughout systems as well as throughout your organization as a whole. And you can look at that starting with skills on a granular level of where you need to fill in those skills gaps, where you need to look outside the organization to find that next batch of talent to take your organization to the next level. But it all starts with the data and really starting with skills before you can take that next step. Mr. Deal, anything special for the attendees that we have planned? Any, no juggling, we already said.
I wouldn't count it out totally. If John shows up, then we might get a show.
We might. But
I hope to God John can juggle. I don't know if I should look directly at him while we're
start learning juggling, buddy.
I could probably juggle 3 or 4, but no more than that.
Yeah.
But I always have balls up in the air at work, so that's
absolutely.
technically juggling too.
Shout out to recruiters who are juggling 7, 8, 9 requisitions at the same time. A lot of analogies here, but what's special going on at Skills Day?
Sure. So if you attend Skills Day, not only will you get to hear all the great things that we talked about, but coming out of Skills Day, we're going to do something a little bit special related to skills and snapshots for organizations. So trying to give them a practical look at some of the skills, some of the roles, some of the progressions that they have within their own organization. So we'll share a little bit more on Skills Day. This is, you'll never believe, number 6. This is the clickbait portion of the speech. So we'll share a little bit more about it at Skills Day, but I think it's going to be meaningful for folks that are really trying to understand, is their data good, right? Or is it not sufficient? And I think that by attending this and then by seeing some of the stuff that attendees will get, they'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. And I want to ask you, we talked a lot about skills. What can you do with them, John?
Oh, you can do so much with skills, dude. You can organize them, you can prioritize them, you can ontologize them. Got skills architecture, skills intelligence, skills forward, upskill, reskill, new skill. There's technical skills, there's soft skills, power skills, validated skills, critical skills, skills gaps, skills proficiencies, skills proximity, and Skills Day.
There you have it. Skills Day. You'll want to be there. It's the perfect time of year. It's right before the new year, before the holiday season, where before everyone begins to check out, you can get your mind rolling for when that vacation time rolls around and all of a sudden make your pitches of your holiday wish list to the C-level folks of, hey, we really need to start looking at skills. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both so much. I know you have a lot going into Skills Day. I'm excited to be there as well. And for everyone who's tuning in right now, you can register at skillsday.phenom.com. Did I get that right? Did I get that wrong?
Skills.phenom.com.
Skills.phenom.com.
Skills Day is Wednesday, December 13th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Register today at skills.phenom.com.
And if you can't figure that out, there's a banner at the top of just phenom.com that you can click on and register there, or we'll, I'm sure, shoot you over an email after this. But gentlemen, thank you both so much. Everyone, we look forward to seeing you on Skills Day. Tune in next week. We have an interview with Sebastian and the good folks over at Fosway about a little bit of talent acquisition. And then the following week after that is, it's almost time for New Year, so it's going to be a year in review episode. You won't want to miss that, highlighting all of the best episodes of Talent Experience Live. But in the meantime, I hope everyone has a fantastic Thursday, a safe and healthy weekend, and we will see you all real soon. Thanks so much.